Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Keyboard Chronicles, a podcast for keyboard players of the gigging variety. I'm your host, David Holloway, and it's great as always to be here with you. And once again, I'm joined by the hardest working man in Pink Floyd show business, Paul Bindig. How are you, Paul?
Thank you, David. I'm thrilled to be here and I'm looking forward to talking to our guest today.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit excited about this one as well. I've mentioned bucket list moments with a few of our guests, but this is definitely one of them. So Rubén Valtierra is keyboard player with Weird Al Yankovic, and I'm a massive Weird Al Yankovic fan and have seen Ruben play live in Australia twice. And what I'll probably be saying to Ruben in the interview is, it blew me away from the very get-go just how good. I knew they'd be good, but just how good this band are. And so Ruben, I'm sure, have a lot of great insights on that and also all of the stuff that he's done outside of working with Weird Al. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, and unlike you, David, I've not been fortunate enough to see Weird Al live, but I literally grew up with Weird Al Yankovic's music and have always loved it. And I'm very excited to actually get a bit of insight into how the band works. And, I've got a feeling that based on your experience, and I have heard the shows are absolutely amazing, that it's a pretty slick setup, I think.
Yeah, so no, let's jump in and see what Ruben's got to say. A huge welcome to you, Ruben. It's great, so great to have you here. This is a bit of a bucket list moment for us. So thanks for taking the time.
I hear voices. Who's talking to me? Who? Well, hello.
It looks like you're in heaven. You've got just that lovely aura of light, like that angelic light around you.
Yes. El Maestro is, it's my nimbus.
That's the one.
It's a nimbus. How are you guys?
Good. Well, yeah, look, so pleased to have you on. And, we look forward to having a wide-ranging chat over the next period of time. So do bear with us.
Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to talk about?
So I thought we might just start with the most basic thing we ask all our guests, and that, tell us about Rubén Valtierra, the early years. So what was your upbringing and what got you into music as a passion?
My upbringing is that I remember my dad playing, playing Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring, when I was about 5 years old. And everybody else was listening to, whatever. And I loved that. And then he introduced me to all the basic piano repertoire, the classical piano repertoire. And from an early age, I knew who, Van Cliburn had won a couple of years before then the Tchaikovsky competition. And I've actually seen videos. I don't know if you've ever seen that record. It was a very famous record. It's one of the first best-selling records, classical. It was Van Cliburn winning the Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow in 1958. This was many years after that I saw it, but I've actually been able to, so I grew up with that record. Isn't it a crazy thing to grow up with records?
Yes.
And then somehow somebody had the video of their performance and they put it on YouTube. So like 40 years later, for you guys, for me, 60 years later, but like 50 years later, you actually get to see the video of the performance that you grew up with. And it's like so cool. So my dad got me into that. And then I auditioned for piano lessons by taking my toy piano, which you can see sometimes on my Facebook profile. You can see my dad giving me my first piano, a toy piano, on Christmas Eve. And it's the moment where I realized it's a piano. It's my very first, first instrument. How cool is that? Who has a picture of getting their very first piano? So anyway, so he got me on that. And then I took the piano into their, and started playing some Beethoven on the toy piano. They said, well, he needs lessons. So I started taking classical lessons. I joined the orchestra in high school, and I couldn't read very well, so I was actually playing by ear, playing all these orchestral pieces by ear. And the conductor's like going, "How are you doing that?" And anyway, So the thing is that after that, I went to college, and then I started learning how to play jazz a little bit. And then after college, I formed a funk fusion band in Santa Cruz, California. And we were very popular. It was called Rush Hour. You can find it on YouTube or on my site. And then I got to be too big of a fish, in too small of a pond in Santa Cruz. And my friend said, you need to go down to LA. And I went down to LA at an advanced age. I was already in my mid 30s because I started late. I didn't start playing in bands until I was like 23, as opposed to all my other friends who were starting when they were 10, and so I went down at an advanced stage in my early 30s down to LA, started getting known. And within the first year, I was already getting known by a bunch of people playing heavy fusion, playing, like tribal tech kind of stuff, playing Yellow Jackets, playing Michael Brecker, the Brecker Brothers, Larry Carlton, all that kind of stuff. And then actually starting to play with those guys. But then I got a call to be in an orchestra to do a TV special for a certain personality named Dr. Demento.
And believe it or not, Ruben, we do know Dr. Demento down here, although he's not.
Sorry.
No, he's not as familiar to us as he is in the US, but I've loved some of his work over the years, and I definitely want to move on to that, and we might as well do it now, because I believe your audition process, particularly with Weird Al, involved a bit of a falling on the head moment. So very keen for our listeners to hear about that.
Well, for all the people that haven't heard, basically, the thing is that I received a phone message. My girlfriend had written a message saying, Weird Al needs you. I'm like, what? And I'm new in town. I've been there for about a year. And it's like, what is this? Oh, well, you'll be part of the orchestra with Dr. Demento. They're putting on a show, a TV show, and it's going to be all the people that he would have on the radio show. Bobby Boris, what was his name? Bobby Boris Pickett, who did the Monster Mash. Those kind of songs, those kind of people. And then the big star at the end was going to be Weird Al Yankovic. I'm like, wow, Weird Al. So that's pretty cool. He hadn't been doing anything for a while because he had been busy doing his movie, UHF. Oh, yeah. So he wasn't touring. So now he comes back and he does this thing. So we're rehearsing, and I'm there with the orchestra, and there's the rhythm section, the rock and roll rhythm section. And I'm sitting next to the guitar player, and I go, so what's your story? And he goes, oh, well, we're actually Al's band. The rhythm section is Al's band. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. And well, where's your keyboardist? And Jim Kimmel West says, oh, well, Al doesn't really have one right now. And I'm like, cha-ching, right? New guy in town. It's like, I'm going, you're kidding. There's no, and I'm here. That's like, okay. So the thing is that we do a couple of tunes with Al, and he has me do this little thing where he's going to talk, and we're going to go into a song called One More Minute. And first he sets it up, so he wants some like soft cocktail music and this and that. And then supposedly I'm supposed to start getting loud, and he gives me a look, and I supposedly, supposed to stop. And then he talks again, and I get loud, and he gives me a look, and then finally, supposedly I keep going so much that he's supposed to come over and poke me like this, where Bermuda Schwartz, the drummer, has a sample set up. It sounds like the Three Stooges. So it goes, blink, I'm supposed to go, oh, like this. It's kind of stupid, kind of lame. So we go through rehearsal. I do the thing. And then we tape the show. So basically, he gets up there and goes, can I get some soft lighting? You know, they don't change the lighting. He's like, thank you very much. And I'm here doing soft cocktail music. He starts talking. I get louder. He gives me a look, and I'm like that. People start laughing a little bit. And then we do it again. I get louder again. He gives me a look. I'm like, you know, and so now the band is already going, oh no, what's going on? The guy's hamming it up. And so the third time, he starts talking, I start playing, I go into Grieg, you know, the A minor concerto, bang, ding, 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 and doing all this crap. And he goes, and he comes up to me, he taps me on the shoulder, I'm supposed to turn around, he pokes me in the eye, go like that. No, he taps me on the shoulder, and I'm here going like that, and he doesn't know what to do. Now he's like going, so he taps me on the shoulder again, and I'm going, get the hell out of here. And people are all starting to laugh. The band is here going, the orchestra's going, what's he doing? And then finally, he's had enough of this. And he goes like that, and he goes, what? You know, like, what the you want? And he goes, bam, like that, slams me in the head. I go flying off of the riser, which is about 5 feet high, right? Dragging curtains and this and that. The whole stage like completely falls apart. I slam on my head, and the people are going nuts. And they go, oh my God. And they go, stop, you know, or cut, right? And the people are going nuts. They said cut, but it kind of kept going. They all rushed around to help me because I was going to be in a, you know, puddle of blood, a pool of blood with broken bones and this and that. And they found me sitting or lying on a giant pile of pillows, these giant pillows that I had set up before the gag. And they found me there completely unhurt. And they're going, oh, okay, we see what's going on. And basically, I wanted to show him, I wanted that gig. And so this is what I did to get that gig. And he remembered me. And it was a big part of the show. It was this crazy thing of the show, a big highlight of the show. He remembered me and called me up about 6 months later while I had a gig in France for a couple of months. They left a message and said, you know, Al, it was Steve J, the bass player. He said, Al, really love what you did at the thing. We'd like to know if you'd like to come on tour with us. And that was in 1992. And here I am. And it's like I said, I wanted that gig. I got the gig. And
this is
all in my head.
So this is your 30th year, Ruben, which is incredibly impressive. And obviously he didn't need to audition you based on your musical abilities because A, you had the history there, and B, he'd already played a show with you, essentially.
Yeah, we performed a couple of tunes that, showed that I could do all the styles, but at the same time, by having to back up all the other acts, we had to do a wide range of stuff. And so he saw, I had to do a thing with another accordion player, a guy who had an accordion player. He didn't know the accordion player. It wasn't Al, it was some studio guy. The guy didn't like what the accordion player was doing. And I started because I was bored, I started playing the part on my synth, and the guy's like, that's perfect. That's what I want. Why can't you do that, you stupid accordion player? And the guy's, I don't know. So they let go of the accordion player. I took over. So basically, Al saw that I was able to do, cover all the styles. And so it's been 30 years. It feels like 60.
And there's obviously not a brotherhood of accordion players, because Al shouldn't have brought you on just from the fact you killed one of his colleagues in accordion land.
No, it really had nothing to do with the whole accordion thing. It's basically that Al got to see, because he was there, he got to see that I could cover all the stuff. So it was obvious that I was going to be able to cover all the stuff that he could do. And you know, and then he just called and it just kept going. It kept going.
And for some of our listeners that haven't had the pleasure of seeing Weird Al and the band live, and I have twice, I wasn't surprised, Ruben, but what really struck me is just not only is it a good band, but it is a great band, and it's a great band the great band that has to cover a massive range of material at a high level of technical ability. And it just blew me away that first show, just how good the band is. So how's that evolved over time as far as, you know, do you guys obviously rehearse, there's no doubt about that, but how's that evolved that you've just gotten better and better over those years?
The guys are the best musicians. Jim Kimmel West, the guitarist, is already being recognized as one of the top Hawaiian slack key guitar masters in the world. But the thing is that, so you've got him, you've got Steve J on bass, who was educated by in a classical, you know, he in Florida, I forget what university he went to, but he majored in music and orchestral and scoring and everything. And John Cage, the famous let's see, avant-garde classical composer, was one of his teachers. Bermuda, John Schwartz is just a great drummer who can play all of the proper styles, is very musical. His brother is a session guitarist in LA and Nashville, who played with Neil Diamond for like about 30 years, and big time guys. So there's tons of talent there, and they know exactly what Al wants. And the thing is, Al doesn't have to tell anybody what he wants. He just says, here's the song, you know what to do. And everybody studies their parts, comes prepared, and out, it gets counted off, and it's all there. And so there's this almost like this competition going on where you got to bring your best, because you can't look like a slacker. You can't, because everybody will just look at you and just like smile and laugh, or just smile knowingly that, you're not cutting it, dude. So, I mean, to the point where Al sent me home during recording sessions because I was not playing the part exactly the way it had to be played. Point being, the Saga Begins, which is basically, the Saga Begins was American Pie, Don McLean. You remember that one? Mm-hmm. And the piano part on it is all weird and kind of goofy and has kind of strange licks, and the time goes this way and that way. And I had no guide. He wanted it exactly like the record. It's like, can't we clean it up and make it nice? No, I wanted it exactly like the record. So that was one of the hardest sessions that I had to do, where you could actually take the recording of my recording and the recording on the record, and you can play them at the same time, and they're so perfectly aligned that it's like they're phasing, they're phasing because they're so close. But the thing is that you had no markers, you had no click. It had to be perfect from memory, and he sent me home a couple of times. He said, you don't got it, and I had to go home, and the guys are like looking at me and going, so the thing is, it's a bit competitive. It's a professional competitiveness in there. The guys are just the best, and thing is that, I'm sorry to say it, but all the bands know this. We play their stuff better than they do. We do. And as I think you were about to say something, but I was going to respond by saying, it's almost like though it's gotten to like the Beatles at the end of their live their live career, where they had so much orchestral stuff going on and so many people, they couldn't recreate this stuff on stage. And that's part of the reason that, they got sick of the whole Beatlemania and this and that. And they got sick of all the screaming because they couldn't hear each other. They didn't have monitors, you know that. So do you remember that one interview where George Harrison said that he had said, on this song, I'm sorry for goofing up the bridge. And they said, we didn't play that song. He was playing a completely different tune. They couldn't hear each other, So finally they just said, we're through with this. But with the technology that we have, we're able to recreate all the tracks, all the things that Al does, whether it's that we have stuff on a server or whether I've got stuff sampled, And I was able to, I had to catch up with all the technology to be able to keep up and do all this stuff, Well, I had to get all that kind of stuff that you guys have back there. What do you got back there? Now, anyway, so as you can see, I just go on and on and on and on. Did that answer your question?
It does.
Ruben, that level of professionalism is not shocking, as David suggested in the question, because the band is just so amazing on stage. I'm interested in this, though. We had a guest on here not long ago. He was fantastic, Jeff Babco, who...
Oh, I know Jeff.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. And as you would,
he's got my gig.
Yeah, well, and our listeners would know.
He's got my gig. He does a lot of work with Steve Martin and Martin Short. And right. one of the questions we asked him was, working with those guys so closely, it must be a lot of fun, and you must never know what's going to happen because they're so clever with their extemporaneous comedy. And he said, well, actually, the show is rehearsed with an inch of its life, so there's not too much unpredictable stuff going on behind the scenes. It's very much rehearsed. I'm interested in your band, Ruben, whether there is some room for a bit of improvisation from a presentation and a humour point of view, or is it very much rehearsed with an inch of its life in the way it's presented? I will answer your question by telling you this. Al would come up to Bermuda, on the bus. When we get on the bus at 12 o'clock every night, we don't have residencies. It's like we go to the next place, which is 400 miles away. It's some sort of legal contract that we can only play. We have to go at least 400 miles away, to do the next gig. So we're on the bus at 12 o'clock. Al will come up to Bermuda, would come up to Bermuda and go like this. He'd go, and Bermuda would go, oh, and that meant, how long was the show tonight? And I swear to God. And Bermuda would say, tonight, that was an hour. That was an hour and 20 and 37 seconds. And the next night, Al would do the same thing. And Bermuda would say, that was an hour and 20 and 35 seconds. That's how much room there is for improvisation.
Yeah, right.
The shows are completely choreographed, completely timed. Al doesn't really say anything. He doesn't have any patter or this or that. It's to the second. It's to the second, And I would love to do more improv, but the way, everything is so tight.
Yeah.
When the lights go, when everything goes black, the crew rushes onto the stage in complete darkness and is taking care of everything and this and that, and nobody bumps into each other. They know exactly where they have to be. It's completely choreographed. Yeah. It's not a spontaneous show at all. It's not improvisatory.
And just on just your comment about Jeff Babco. So has he got your Martin Short and Steve Martin gig or the Jimmy Kimmel gig?
The Jimmy Kimmel gig.
Yeah, okay.
The Jimmy Kimmel gig, because I was in a funk fusion band, a salsa funk band in the early 90s. Let's see. And it was a great thing with the three sexy singers in the front and all the studio cats, tons of cats. Let's see, what am I trying to say? And so the thing is that Al called me I had to go do the tour, and basically that gig was, it's your gig until you leave. And when you leave, somebody else takes your place, but you can't come back because it's their gig until they leave. So the guy that took my place was Jeff Babco. And Cleto was in the band, right? Along with Jonathan Dressel, along with Jimmy Earl, the bass player. Jonathan Dressel is Bernie Dressel's brother, the great drummer. And Jonathan is a great world-class drummer. So anyway, Cleto gets a call from his high school friend, Jimmy Kimmel, who says, hey, they're giving me a show. I need a band. I want you to be the leader. So Cleto takes the band and takes it to the Jimmy Kimmel show. I was in that band. And so because I was with Al, I couldn't do otherwise I would have had like a 25-year show, just being like, yeah, that'd be great for my pension.
But Ruben, we are definitely going to talk much more about Riggs in a little while. We're very keen to hear about not just the technical, but just what you've said about playing in that band is fascinating. But we also want to cover all your myriad of other stuff. Sure. But I know, Paul, you've just got one more question about Weird Al at this stage.
Yeah, I do. I'm fascinated with the fact that you ended up doing something that I'm sure a lot of us would love to do, and that is being characterized on The Simpsons. And obviously Weird Al and the whole band were featured on an episode back in 2002. And I used to watch The Simpsons a lot back then. I don't these days. And I remember, in sort of reviewing it in research for the interview today, I thought, oh, yeah, I remember that episode. I'm curious as to what level of involvement goes on behind the scenes. They obviously went to some trouble to accurately portray the band.
The management sent the people over doing The Simpsons. I think it's Korea. They sent it to their artists over there. So they sent a bunch of pictures of the band, close-ups and this and that. And basically we went into the studio and we had to learn the Jack and Diane thing by Mellencamp.
Yes.
And he turned it into that. And my piano part was fairly simple. And Jim's part was that there was a couple of guitars involved, and then bass and drums. And then of course Al sang. And we completed that. It was just I think we had to do a verse and a chorus.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
And I just lost your feed. There you are. So we had to do a verse and a chorus, and then the next thing I know, there's the show, and I think it's called Two Gays of the Condo, as opposed to, or it was three gays of the Condo as opposed to 3 Days of the Condor.
That's
right?
correct.
It won an Emmy or something.
Yes.
And it's really nice to have that still. I would have loved to have the animated cell, but this was after they went to digital.
Right.
So they weren't doing cells anymore. So it would have been nice, but I got the still. I use it every once in a while. But that was pretty much that.
Yeah.
They didn't have to film us or anything. They just sent them pictures. No big thing.
Yeah. Still impressive. Yeah. And so just to jump all around the shop, Ruben, let's talk Deep Purple. So obviously really keen to how you got involved with Glenn Hughes and the band as it was at that time, and what you learnt from that experience. Obviously, organ is so key to the sound of Deep Purple. Just love your insights on that time.
I wasn't, let's see, a friend of mine, a great guitarist, was involved with Glenn, and Glenn put together his version of Deep Purple, which he called Deep Purple with Glenn Hughes. And it did not involve Ian Pace or the other guys, obviously John Lord, but it didn't involve Richie Blackmore or any of those guys. So it was Glenn Hughes, and it was his version of it, and so that's what he called it. So I say it. It's obviously I was not part of the real Deep Purple. I would, but we did all those songs, and Glenn is the voice of rock.
He is.
You know, the Glenn is the voice of rock, and he didn't want to do all that screaming stuff that everybody, you know, loves him to do, because, and he can still do it. It's amazing.
His vocal ability is amazing.
He can still do it.
Amazing.
And he plays bass great.
Mm.
He was very, very talented, you know. And let's see. You know, they've had a bunch of other singers, but Glenn was just great. So we did some tours in we went to Moscow, we went to England, we went to the UK, we went to France, and that was great. It was a great experience. I wasn't playing B3 though. I actually had a Kurzweil K2000, and I was able to. I actually went in and sampled a B3 in different, you know, and mapped it, right? And I had it as the clean tone, and then I sampled the full draw bars with the Leslie going. I sampled that and made that in about five sections. And so basically I had, back in those days, the Kurzweil had a lever that you were actually able to go from one level of the program to another level and turn on and enable another level. So I had the clean level, and then I'd pull down the fader, and it would take me to the full on drawbar with the Leslie going. And that was the best way that I could get a real sounding B3, and that would have had to be 1995. So all these hoops that I had to jump through, that I you know, because of Al, I had good training. I had to learn on the spot how to go in and be able to, you know, where people would say, you know, I'd say, how can we make the sound? And, you know, people will go, well, you can't get there from here. You know, we don't have that kind of technology. No, I figured out ways to be able to do, you know, go, you know, back doors and this and that, and be able to, you know, being able to do something like, I didn't have enough hands to be able to work pedals, to be able to work a modulation levers and this and that. I need to be able to hit one note and then have that note go up, but at the same time have another sound, which is the same note, but it's another sound, and have it go down, you know. So I was able to figure out how to go in, layer stuff, talk to modulation sources and route them in a certain way so that when I hit that one note, if I pressed on it more, you know, the tone would go up, and that would be a one sound, and then the other sound, the tone would go down by me pressing. You know, I had to start thinking in those kind of ways. So that's why you know, when I'm playing jazz and this and that, it's a completely different dimension. I'm playing linear. I'm composing in my head. It's all very aesthetic. But when I'm with Al, I'm thinking of waveforms, modulation sources, and you know, that's why I've been with Kurzweil all this time.
Yeah, and let's talk that a little bit then, Ruben, as far as Kurzweil, because it is obvious you're a huge Kurzweil fan, and that's obviously one of the reasons.
Yes, because Kurzweil is the early on, it was showing it was the only the other synths, they have their great sounds that are associated with a certain synth. You know, how sad is it that way back in the day, it's like you would actually pay thousands of dollars for a synth just because it had this one patch, right? And then all the rest of it, like the organs were crap, you know, the horns were crap, you know, but this one patch was great. But Kurzweil was affording me the ability to be able to do anything that I could think of. You know, you just had to get in deep with their VAST architecture, And I learned a lot of stuff from watching YouTube and seeing, and then they do all sorts of tutorials. And and you know what? They've taken care of me. They've taken care of me for years.
And that'd be probably why your new toy's sitting there behind you, Ruben.
That's the 2700.
Yeah.
And basically, the cool thing about the 2700, they wanted me, because what they would do is, basically they saw what I could afford them, in that a lot of kids will be taken to a Weird Al concert. It's like their first concert, right? And so then they want to play keyboards, and the dad would go, take them to the keyboard, so the music store, and say, "What do you want?" "I want what Ruben was playing," because it was their first concert and made an impression on them. And so then Kurzweil understood this, and they said, "We need to just take care of this guy because he's influencing so many kids." So Kurzweil would actually phone me up. This is going to make a lot of guys jealous, but I am blessed. Kurzweil would phone me up before tours, 6 months before a tour, and go, "What do you need?" And I'm like, I'm okay. And they go, "Well, we got the new thing. Is there a way that you can show this off, and premiere this or display this, And I'm like, okay. So they asked me about they told me about the 2700, and I'm like, well, I've got my, that's the K8. This is the K8.
Yeah. Beautiful piece of gear.
And that thing can do, anything. So I've got it all tweaked out. Now it's coming back with this show that we did like 2 tours ago, and I've got everything. And it's, it takes me to try to figure out how I'm going to design how everything's going to go. And it's like, he got to this place where he'd say, "Here's the song list. We've got a rotating list of 60 songs, for this one tour." Usually it would be like 13 songs or whatever, and it was just the same every night. But for this tour, he said, "I'm going to just mix it up every night. And it's going to be from 60 songs. So you got to learn all of them, and have them ready to."
So he's gone all Springsteen on you, Ruben.
Pretty much, except no, not even Springsteen. More like Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've interviewed. I forget the gentleman's name. I know
David Rosenthal.
Right. We've talked. We have talked and exchanged notes and said, "Really, you have to do that?" "No, really, you have to do that?" "Yeah, me too." So the thing is though, in order to do the show, something like, I don't know if you can. I'm trying to get the glare out of there. That's young. There you go.
Yeah, Young, Dumb, and Ugly. Yep.
Okay, so that's my part, where and because there's so many songs, it's like, I'm too old. I can't remember this stuff. And he said, "Well, because I remember the first tour, I said, do we need to bring our own music stands?" And he goes, and all the guys are in the band go, "There's no music stand. There's no reading in rock and roll." And I'm like, oh, because I was used to reading all the time. So we did the Stephen Colbert show a couple of years ago, and they had teleprompters. And Al, after the show, said, "This was so cool. For once, I wasn't really nervous. It was right there." And I go, "Yeah, but once you go there, you're not going to go back." And so the next tour that we did, he had teleprompters. And I'm saying, well, if you've got teleprompters, then, then can we read the thing? And he goes, okay. So I've got it I've got everything completely scored on the iPad, all the tunes. And basically, Young, Dumb, and Ugly. And okay, right now I've got it as number 2. Okay. So I've got it all programmed so that when I go to and the 2700 has been able to step in and take the place of my K8. The architecture is kind of close. And because I was really worried, I had everything all tweaked out on the K8, and then I was going to have to like reprogram everything. It was going to take weeks and weeks. I'm going, no. And then Kurzweil said, no, you can transfer the files. It will go in there. It'll read everything, the samples, the maps, everything. Oh God, thank you. So basically, I'll go into I will address the 2700, which will be my number one keyboard, and then I got the K6 on top of it. The 2700, I will say quick access, and I will go number 2, which is Young, Dumb, and Ugly. Within number 2, it's got the programs that I've got, a chain of programs that are just for that song. So when I get to a certain part in the score, like one of those circles, like something in yellow or something there, it'll say, program up, right? And I know just to hit the program up, and it will go to the program up. And so the thing is that Young, Dumb, and Ugly could have been song number 33, and then it would have been like program number 150, and the next program would be number 151 and 152. But let's say that I had to change one of those programs or add another program, that would have screwed up the entire chain, and I would have had to been re-editing everything. No, instead, I can put the program, I can name it whatever I want, like 1053, but I drop it into the quick access mode, and it's right there. And so it could be, the quick access will be number 2, but when I go into there and I hit the program, the first one, it might be 143. And the next program that I have to hit, I'll hit program up. It'll just go to the next one, but that'll be program 2045. So that's why I love Kurzweil, because it allows me to be able to design things like that, And so was that too much?
No, that was good. And it's because I was going to ask, so are you moving to the 2700? It sounds like you definitely are.
There it is. And it's working pretty good. It seems to be, and it's got better things happening. I think some better brass. I talked to them a lot about their electric pianos that used to feel kind of muddy, and it was almost like running through mud, and because you want to do some fast stuff, but they've tweaked it out. It's a lot better now, So basically, the thing is, playing with Al, it's really, I'm sorry to say it, I'm blessed, but at the same time, it turns me into a robot, because it's got to be to the point where you don't think about anything. You're not thinking about music. You're actually thinking about, okay, now put your hand here. Now step on this pedal. Now put your hand here. Now step on this pedal. Now push this. It's not like jazz or anything where you're just creating. Am I giving away too much?
No, I think
I'm talking professional.
Yeah, no, I think the equivalent. I'd love your thoughts, Ruben. Is it's more like musical theatre, because in musical theatre there's that level of rigor around it as well.
Well, it's as I've said before, it's like it's a rock and roll musical on steroids. Because we're out there slamming. But the thing is that it's like, I'm known for soloing. I've been always known for soloing, and the thing is, for 30 years, I never took a solo. I was never given a solo. I like a real solo where you can stretch, and where the leader's going, yeah, come on, no, it's a certain couple of bars, and it's usually a written solo. It's a soli. And that's it. So it's right there, because we're also in sync with the videos. So we've got the giant video screens going on, and those things have embedded inside it a click track, which is being sent to the drummer And so it's gotten to the point. It's gotten to the point. I'm sorry to, I apologize to, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I am pulling back the curtain. I'm sorry. But the thing is that the drummer, it's like, wasn't that great? I mean, remember that part where we did that? And he goes, and I go, oh yeah, right. Because he doesn't have us in his mix.
Yeah.
He has Al's vocal and he has the click track. And that's all. He goes, I don't need to hear anything else. It'll just mess me up.
Mm.
So in other words, I'm talking professional. I'm talking about theater. It's not about creating music or this or that. We're playing. We are reciting the script, and we are not. It's like we're not going in there and saying, to be or not to be. That's what I'm thinking about. No, it's got to be or not to be. That is the question. It's got to be the same every time, or else it'll screw up everything.
So, so to go from one extreme to the other, then, Ruben, is you've had some involvement with everything from Tower Power, Santana, and your own Latin orchestra. That I would argue that's the other end of the spectrum, yeah.
Yeah, yes, and very much so. I had a group with Bruce Conti for a long time, and he was one of the original guitarists of Tower Power on all the What Is Hip stuff, all the good time and the good part of Tower Power, the classic, the hit time. I was asked by Emilio, the leader of Tower, to come down and play with the band. He wanted me to be in the band, and I was on tour with Al, so I had to say no. But I've, like the thing says, my bio says, I've shared the stage with the guys. I've played with all the guys, but I didn't play with Tower. I wanted to play with Tower, but that didn't happen. And the thing is that that could have been, as my story goes. I remember getting the gig with Al, and I was hanging out with a guy, and I go, what are you doing? He's going, well, I'm going out with Sting. Oh, cool. Why? I got the gig too. And he goes, with who? And I go, with Al. And he's like, Al Jarreau? I'm like, no. Is it Al Green? No. I'm like, and he's like, and I go, Weird Al Yankovic. And he's like, right? He laughed. But 30 years later, I phone him up and I go, so what's up? How's the thing with Sting? And he goes, oh, dude, that lasted 2 weeks. Okay. So that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I could have been with Tower or this or that, but I'm here after 30 plus years with Al, because I first played with him in 1991, and with the visibility that this has afforded me, with the support from all the manufacturers, and this, it's, and I mean, to be on the Simpsons.
And that's the thing. I can't imagine you're losing a lot of sleep, Ruben. Really, yeah, about what ifs. I can't imagine you're the sort of guy that goes, what if, I had, worked with Tower of Power rather than Weird Al.
2 weeks. Who knows?
That's right.
And at the same time, there's a lot of people that do these kind of gigs, and they say, careful about meeting your heroes. You don't ever want to meet your heroes, right? Because you'll be let down. In other words, the sax player told me, yeah, I love their stuff, until I realized that every night I was basically going, da, 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 da. Right? And it's just like, well, then once you're doing that, the whole magic of the experience of the song that you remembered and this and that, it just turns into this weird robotic kind of thing, and you end up hating it. In other words, if you work at a pizza place, right, and people go, hey, let's go out for dinner. What do you want? Let's get some pizza. Let's like, no, I don't want to get pizza, And so the thing is, I could be with all those guys. It could have lasted 2 weeks. Who knows? Maybe I'd start hating the music But, you know, to be with a guy for 30 plus years and to be able to say, I've never heard him raise his voice. He knows exactly what he wants and he expects it from you. And when's the last time that you had a boss that didn't raise his voice? You know, and now he's a legend. And, you know, there's the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It'd be great for him to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though, you know, that thing is turning into a crap show anyway. It's like, sure, we'll let you be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. By the way, if you want somebody to come with you, that'll be $10,000 for them to sit with you. It's like, really? But Al should be in it, you know. And there are videos.
Yeah, his legacy is outstanding. I think, you know, he's so many of us have grown up with him, like literally grown up with him, and his legacy is amazing, and the joy he brings to people. And, you know, you're talking about the concert being so well rehearsed and so professional. Well, that's what I get out of it. It's professionalism. You know, it's putting on an amazing show every night for people. And as you said, you've got young kids, their first ever concert's a Weird Al concert, and I want to play that keyboard. And that's an amazing thing to have as part of the band's legacy and Weird Al's legacy, but also yours, Ruben.
Yes.
So let's link Tower Power to Santana. And this alludes to, before we started recording, I mentioned to you we'd had another guest who we ended up making 2 episodes from. And that's someone that played in both Tower Power and Santana. Can you guess who that is?
David Matthews.
Yeah.
David K. Matthews.
That's right.
It won't be mixed up with the other David Matthews. I knew him as a Bay Area player who was very good, who actually, and he was with Etta James before that. And, you know, the thing is that I wanted to play with Santana. Of course, that's on my bucket list, right? But now it's gotten to the point where, and so the poor guy, I mean, let's not go there. Let's say this. I'm really glad that David has that gig, you know, and he deserves the gig. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that I would bring a very strong Latin sense to the gig, you know, a very strong Latin sense, because that's what I really love. And to the point that I actually phoned up Wally Reyes Jr., who played drums with Carlos for years. And I called up Keith Jones, who played bass with him for a long time. And I said, I'd like to put together a reel. I want to get a little group together. I'm going to record it. I'm going to bring in a kind of guitarist, like sound alike a little bit, because I want that gig. And what I will do is I will bring both Chester Thompson and the stylings of Tom Coster, who used to be with Santana way back in the day, especially on the early albums like Borboleta and Welcome. And they were slamming. I will bring both of those sensibilities to Carlos, you know, because I looked at videos and he's playing and they're doing Oye Como Va for the 100,000th time. And he's just like, he's looking like that. And I go, no, I can bring back the whole fusion thing and this and that. And I told those guys that, and they said, you know what? That Carlos doesn't exist anymore. Because as soon as Clive Davis took him and paired him with like Rob Thomas and all the young singers, and they did Supernatural, and then Carlos started making millions of dollars, it's like, who wants fusion? I don't want fusion anymore. I don't want to go there. So the thing is that I would love to play with Carlos, but I don't want to do what he's doing right now. I am very glad that David Matthews has that kick.
And you've given a nice segue though, Ruben, to Latin music and your own orchestra. I mean, I think you get to do what you want to do there, yeah?
There was a time when many years ago when I said to Bruce Conte, I said, I don't know. I think I think I want to quit. I don't want to do the Al thing anymore. He goes, what? And I go, I don't want to do the Al thing. He goes, you never quit that gig. And I go, why? It doesn't, I don't do what I want to do on it. He goes, it doesn't matter. That gig is your day job. That gig affords you the ability to go home and play the kind of music that you want to play and not have to play. You know, like playing New York, and playing weddings and this and that and bar mitzvahs. That gig affords you the ability to go home and play with the people you want to play with and not the people you have to play with. Where I'm in a tuxedo and this guy is here and he's hired me to play Girl from Ipanema and he's just like butchering it. And it's like, you know, and he goes, so you never quit that gig. And so the thing is that I've been blessed. I've held on to the Al gig for all this time. And then I go home and I play the kind of stuff that I want to play. It may not pay as much as, you know, all the other gigs, but I don't care about the pay because I've got my day job. I've got my straight job. And then I take care of the guys. You know, my orchestra, you know, it's a trio. You know that, right? I mean, when I play live, it's a trio. It's a big slamming trio.
It is.
And I'm so happy to be playing with it. I'm so blessed. I've got the best guys that are here, even though I'm surrounded by deadheads. I'm surrounded by the Grateful Deadheads. I swear to God, I kid you not. We'll play some super mambo, and people come up and go, "Do you know trucking?" You know, help me. So I'm very blessed. I get to do what I want to do. I've got the day job. Al will go, you know, he doesn't party, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. He's a complete vegan. He's in great shape. And now they're doing a movie on him.
Yes, I've seen lots of discussion on who will play who. I haven't read much of the detail though, Ruben. Have they confirmed the cast? I know, and I do love what you
know. I don't ask.
I do love who you've suggested to play yourself. Do you want to tell our listeners who you've suggested should play you?
Do you have a picture of it?
I'll edit in the picture for sure.
I'll edit in the picture. Put it in right now. That is Danny Trejo, the Mexican-looking, the Latin dude that looks like a villain. He's got the long hair. He's really scary looking. And so I put a poster and said, yeah, they phoned me up to ask me to talk to Danny about the movie. I'm like, what movie? Who? What? I don't understand. And I made it all up. But now my latest post was that his management called up to decline the offer to be in the movie because the actor said he was too young to play the role of Rubén Valtierra.
He didn't say machete don't do keyboard or anything like that.
Right. Machete don't do keyboard.
Machete don't do keyboard.
So I was thinking maybe I could have Ricky Martin play me. That's it. Or Wilmer Valderrama from that 70s show. You know, that guy. I was like, no, I'm just going to leave it alone. But this is crazy. Now, you know, when it comes to the movie, I'm hoping that I hope they do it well. I know what I was going to tell you, and I'll segue into that. I hope they do it well because Al is a true great artist. He's a legend. There's videos of him singing with Steve Tyler, Alice Cooper, all together. And when he did his part, he blew them away. They were on their knees bowing to him. He is that good. He can go in, he can rap. He doesn't do the freestyle rap, but he's got all the stuff memorized, thousands of lyrics, tens of thousands of lyrics, and boom, 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 boom. He never makes a mistake. He never makes a mistake. So the thing is, what I'm saying is, I hope that they do a good movie on him, and that it's not cheesy and stupid because he deserves it. He's a good guy and he's a great artist. And with that segue, I'll show you what I was thinking before about professionalism. And it has to do that with he would sign autographs for hundreds of people after the show. Everybody knew in the later years that all you had to do is go around to the back of the venue and go find the buses, and he would come out and he would sign autographs for hundreds of people, So we would go to the bar, and we knew to be on the bus at 12 o'clock at night because he would be finished by then. And we're at the bar one night, and I get a phone call, and it's the tour manager, and he goes, come back to the bus. We're taking off now. Al doesn't feel good. Okay, fine. So 10 o'clock, whatever. Go back to the bus. Al's sitting there. And I go, are you okay? You don't feel good. Is your stomach, or you got something? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, whatever. We get to the hotel. The next morning, the phone rings, and it's the tour manager, and he goes, okay, well, we have to tell you now that basically Al's parents were found dead last night. Supposedly his father had started the furnace or something, and the flue was in the wrong position. And they just, they settled in, on their little, their reclining chairs. They took a nap. They never woke up.
Gosh.
They had to tell Al this before the concert. So they had a conference call, and they told him the news. I'm here after the concert and go, I smudged this part. I made this. Yeah, I smudged that part. Otherwise, it was okay. The whole thing was okay. And as usual, Al is perfect. He never makes a mistake. And I find out afterwards that he had been told that his parents had been found dead, and he had to go on the show a half an hour later. He didn't cancel the show. He did the show. He was perfect.
Wow.
And so I said to the tour manager, I said, well, I guess the tour is canceled. And the tour manager says, no, Al doesn't want anybody to lose any work. He's going to go take care of business and take a day off. On the next day off, he's going to take care of the business. He's going to come right back. And that is Al Yankovic. Mm-hmm. He didn't want anybody to lose any work.
Wow.
And he soldiered through the whole thing. I phoned him up about a year later, and I said, how did you do that? And he said, oh, well, I would do the show, and then I would go back to my room and I would cry. And then he came back and he did the show again and that's Al Yankovic. That's why I'm so happy and so blessed to be doing this gig for all this time.
Absolutely.
And he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants. He doesn't say anything like Carlos. He's like, no, I need it to be more blue, more teal, give me teal. I was like, what? Because he doesn't read music or anything. It's not that. Al knows exactly what he wants. He doesn't raise his voice, and he's always loyal to you. Yeah, I said my piece.
And as you said, great artist, great person, and even just from a musical, he's a great musician too. So I mean, there's a reason Keyboard Magazine, which was all of our Bible in the 80s and 70s, there's a reason they featured him with accordion on the front cover.
Yes, and then I got to be on the cover too. And I asked him, they wanted to just have me on the cover. And I said, can I bring Al on? And they said, of course, so, just to thank him, for being so loyal. Because, man, I've given him plenty of opportunities to say, Ruben, goodbye, because I was very much into the music, about the band being tight here, or doing this and that. No, you should add a beat here, and he put up with me. He didn't have to. So I've been very blessed. very blessed. So next, what do you got?
Oh, I enjoyed that, Paul.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and Ruben is a really vivacious character, as you've all now heard and seen. For those of you watching us on YouTube, but so generous with his thoughts and honest, and he really is speaking from the heart, and that makes these interviews fantastic. So what fun!
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is part one of two parts for our interview with Ruben. So we look forward to seeing you again for part two in the very, very near future. But thank you always for listening.